for this sequence, we will start seated. And while Linda will be demoing this in a seated cross-leg position, you can also do this one if you would like, just sitting on a bench or sitting on your bed, the edge of your bed. So we'll come to seated, making sure we got the flesh of the bum out from behind you so that you're sitting upright. And I would suggest maybe sitting on a cushion or like a folded towel, anything that helps let your hips lift enough so that your knees can relax down. And then we feel ourselves rooting down on the tissue of the pelvis that's just in front of the sit bones. And then think of growing tall through the crown of the head, like you've got a string that's just pulling the crown of your head upright. So this is our starting position. With the next inhale, let's begin to sweep the arms up and overhead and pretend that we're climbing on a ladder. So you're reaching more with the right arm and then the left arm. So you start to loosen up all along the sides. Hey, just let your head stay relaxed. If it bobs a little side to side, that's fine. And then let the hands gently float back down to the lap. Let your eyes close for a breath. Notice your posture. Notice if you've sunk already. And if you have, just pull that string on the crown of the head so that you're upright again. And then let's tilt left ear towards the shoulder. And then think also of pressing your right ear up towards the sky, but leaving your right shoulder soft. That just helps to align the neck there. And you might start with just a breath or two here, especially if it's your tighter side, which the right side of your neck for most of us is. And then after a few breaths here, begin to nod your head, just any amount. It can be just a fraction of an inch, like you're nodding your head yes as it's tilted. You could even play with the angle of that nod, like maybe your nose is pointed a little more towards the shoulder, or maybe your head is tilted a little as if it's looking up, but it's always at this angle. It's always tilted to the left ear to the shoulder. So we'll keep it this way, and you're just nodding your head yes, but you might, yeah, see, there's just little subtle movements. And you'll find where you feel little hiccups or where it feels good. And I want you to, if you find those little hiccupy places where it doesn't want to move, certainly don't force it, but just try moving slower and more subtly in that direction. It's like you're just softly moving into this nod. And then when you feel you've had enough on that side, let your chin slide down towards the chest and then let it come upright so that you're back to neutral. And then we do a posture check. We've likely slumped just a little, so let's lift that string holding the crown of the head up, leave the shoulders and arms soft. And then when you're ready, tilt the right ear towards that right shoulder and think of lifting the left ear towards the sky. It doesn't actually change how this looks, but it does change the alignment of your neck. It gets a little bit deeper stretch. So you take a few breaths here. Notice if this side is tighter or less tight than the other side, just creating awareness. And then when you're ready, you begin to nod your head. Very tiny movements, moving into a little deeper movements if your neck allows. And again, your choice if you want to slightly change the angle of your nodding. You just think of this as an exploration more than trying to achieve any type of a stretch with the neck. And then when you've had enough, you let that chin slide towards the chest, and then your head returns to neutral. Posture check, making sure that we're nicely aligned and not slumped. We'll do some elbow circles. So if you just let your fingers touch your shoulders, let fingers touch the shoulders, we'll circle with our elbows. So as we begin to inhale, let's sweep the elbows forward and a little bit together. So you notice the upper back softens, the chest compresses a little, and your belly even starts to contract. So you let the low back relax just a little here. And then as you breathe in, let the elbows reach up, let your gaze lift. So now we're stretching the neck. Let the elbows start to separate. We arch the upper back. Slowly draw the elbows like you're trying to touch them behind you. Keep the back arched. And then as the elbows reach towards the earth, your spine comes back to neutral. And then as you sweep the elbows forward and towards each other, you let the low back round a bit. And continue with these circular motions. Each circle may be feeling a little larger, a little yummier, as you open and close the spine and completely lubricate the whole shoulder girdle, starting to let go of that tension, hopefully, in the neck and shoulders and upper back. And again, if you notice any hiccups or bumps in the road, just slow the movement down. Make it, don't exaggerate it so much, make it more subtle. So maybe your circles, if you've got really sore arms or sore shoulders, maybe your circles are little, like what I'm doing here. Or if you're feeling pretty free today, maybe your shoulders or your arm circles are really open, the way Linda's demoing. It's all about exploring what you need and doing what's appropriate for your body today, which won't be the same as yesterday, and it probably won't be the same as tomorrow. So maybe take one more circle here. And then when you finish this circle, let your hands relax onto your lap, let your shoulders soften. Just notice how you feel. And then when you're ready for the next move, it's a variation on trunk rotations. I call them the King Tut rotations, because we'll place our hands on the knees with the fingers pointing in and the elbows pointing out. And then we'll shift our rib cage over to the right. So the rib cage is moving as one unit, and then we'll shift it over to the left. So this isn't like where we're doing our floppy circular rotations here. We're shifting the rib cage right and left. You'll feel it on each side depending on which way you're shifting. And then at some point you'll want to move on to the full circles. So when you're ready, you just shift the rib cage to one side, and then bring the whole rib cage forward as you arch your back, and then over to the other side. And round out the low back, engaging the core, turning these into our trunk rotations. It's just a different way of doing them. Remember, the slower that you move, the more effective these movements will be, giving your brain and your muscles time to communicate with each other. So once you finish the circle that you're on, come back to neutral. And if you're sitting cross-legged, then change the cross of your legs. If you're sitting on the edge of a bed or a bench, you just stay where you are. And if you've changed the cross of your legs, make sure you get the flesh of your bum out from behind, Maybe you're sitting on a cushion or something. Pull that string up through the crown of the head, keeping the spine line long. And then replace your hands onto your knees, fingers pointing in and elbows pointing out, and begin to shift the rib cage side to side. Notice which direction is easier for you to shift to. And then when you're ready, turn this into complete circular motions with the whole rib cage. So we're going the opposite direction of the circle that we did the first time. Maybe one final circle. And then when you finish the circle, come back to neutral. Just pause for a breath. Then do a spine check, just posture check. Pull that string through the crown of the head if you need to. And we'll finish up this sequence with a twist. And this is an isolated twist, so it's meant to loosen up all the different sections of the spine versus when we twist ordinarily, we just twist wherever we're naturally the most flexible, which is usually in the low back. This twist is meant to isolate each portion so that we create more balance along the spine. So on your, take a breath in, and then on your exhale, just twist your head to the right to look over your right shoulder, just as far as you can look without moving anything else and keeping the shoulders soft. And then when you've gone as far as you can, then come back to neutral. Then with this next twist, begin to move your head to look as far as you can over the right shoulder again. When you've gone as far as you can with your head, then engage your shoulder, just your shoulder. It's that the muscles between your right shoulder blade and your upper back. Yeah, use that to pull your shoulder back, but leave your ribs forward facing. And then release, return to neutral. So this is going to be our pattern. Turn the head to the right as far as it will go alone. And then add the shoulder as far as it will go. And then keep going deeper. Now you can let the ribs also pull back. And your right arm's going to naturally kind of slide back a little with it. And then you return to neutral. We start again, just the head. When it can't go any further on its own, then we add the shoulder. When it can't go any further on its own, then we pull the ribs back. When it can't go any further on its own, we pull that right hip back and we let the right hand slide and touch down behind. So now you're in a full twist, which is how we often just start the twist. But this is a much more balanced. And here you can stay for a couple of breaths and now just enjoy this twist. And then when you're ready to come out of it, you come out on the exhale and we come out the opposite as we got into it. So first you just let that, your hand and your right hip come back forward. And then your ribs, then your shoulders, and finally your head returns forward facing. And then pause and relax and notice how that felt. I think it feels completely different than when we just flow right into the twist. So let's try that on the second side. Posture check, see if you need to pull that string to the crown of the head, keeping the shoulders soft. And then when you're ready, it's on an exhale that we typically do each movement. So begin to look over the left shoulder, just as far as only the head will go, and then come back to neutral. Then we do that again, and once we look as far as we can, then we engage the upper back muscles needed to pull the shoulder back, which allows us to twist a little more. And then once you've reached your full, the full scope that you can twist, then you come back to neutral. And you start again, just the head, then add the shoulder. And then when you can't twist anymore like that, then allow the rib cage to twist a bit. And then when you've reached your max, then return forward facing. And then just the head twists. Then we add the shoulder. Then we add the ribs. And then we pull that left hip back. And at this point, you can reach your left hand behind you to plug the fingertips into the floor. Now you're in your full twist. You can stay for a couple of breaths here. And then when you're ready to come out, try letting just the hip lead the way. And then feel the ribs come more forward, then feel the shoulder, and then finally you are completely forward facing. And then pause here. Notice how you feel.